This is a production of Cornell University.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's a really special seminar today, and I'm really happy to be hosting visitors. And I really wish we could have one plant breeding seminar per visitor, because the wealth of information and experience of the people who are here for the next 2 weeks I'll talk about is enormous, but we don't have time. So we're just going to have a panel discussion. Everybody's going to get to share kind of their experience. And just to say that we're lucky that everybody's here today. US visas have been very difficult, so we put together a workshop that's taken a long time. So appreciating the effort that went into that. So today with us, we have, everybody will introduce themselves, but I'll just briefly give names. So Sophia, Divaj, Evelyn, Luis, and Simon. So together, I just want to set the scene for why we're here. Some of you who came to Martina's talk last week may have heard about the Innovation Lab for Crop Improvement. She mentioned some collaborative work there. So the Innovation Lab for Crop Improvement is a Feed the Future program, and we really work with National Agricultural Research Institutes globally on tools, technologies, and methods that increase effectiveness and impact from crop breeding programs. So that's kind of the central mandate. And there's many programs that we engage with. I'm not going to go into the details, but just point out 4 centers of innovation. These are nodes where a lot of the research takes place. The first is SIFIMUS, based with Nasari in Uganda, with collaborations in Kenya and Tanzania. The second one is CICIESA, that's centered in Malawi at Luanar, with collaborations in Tanzania and Mozambique. And in West Africa, we have SIWA, that's centered in Senegal, with collaborations in Nigeria and Burkina Faso. And lastly, in the Caribbean and Central America, we have CACHA, that's a collaboration with Cascais University in Haiti, and INTA in Costa Rica. So within all of those breeding programs, across multiple crops, there are social scientists doing work with the breeding programs to really reorient, to make sure their breeding is socially impactful and considering different issues. So there's a group of us, and we work under what's called priority setting and cross-cutting issues. Cross-cutting issues are gender equality, youth inclusion, nutrition, resilience, and inclusion more broadly. So we're a group of social scientists kind of working across those domains, and we really generate knowledge, but also tools and methods to help guide breeding programs. So today you'll hear a little bit about the experience, not only on this project, but beyond the project. So I'm gonna start us off with introductions, and I'll just start directly from you. If you're okay with that.
Okay, thank you very much.
You want to lean a little bit.
Thank you very much, Hale. I'm happy to be here. I'm called Hamba Sophia from Uganda. I work for the National Agriculture Research Organization. The National Agriculture Organization has a mandate of conducting research in Uganda, research on crops, livestock, fisheries, agroforestry, among others. So I'm based at, we have 16 institutions in the whole country, and I'm based in the eastern side of Uganda, where we work on dryland crops. And as far as CFIMS is concerned, we are targeting, the project is on finger millet and sorghum. These 2 projects, these 2 crops are under dryland crops in Uganda. So I work as a socioeconomist, and actually my mandate is mainly to evaluate the technologies developed by breeders, and we work hand in hand. This project, its main objective is to accelerate development and release of finger millet and sorghum varieties, of which, as a socioeconomist, I have to conduct some work on trait preference to inform the breeders on which traits are preferred by farmers. So I'm glad to be here at Cornell. I'm very happy to meet my colleagues who are also working in cross-cutting and priority setting teams. We shall share a lot and also share the experiences from the different countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bellarmino Divash. I'm from Mozambique. I work for the National Agriculture Research Institute, mainly on the national legume crop program. For the scope of this project, we are working on cowpea, on cross-cutting and the priority issues. And I'm happy to be here and share what we are doing. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Evelyn Compaore. So I come from West Africa, Burkina Faso. And by training, I did science, technology, and innovation studies in sociology and social policy. And I work for the National Institute for Agriculture and Environment based in Burkina Faso. Like what my colleague was saying, we have like 10 different sections throughout the country. And I'm in the central part, is the biggest center in the country. And I also teach at the University of Joseph Kizerbo in Burkina Faso. I teach like action research, and I also teach development sociology modules at the university. And at INERA, I got let's say, is a large team, but in the central part, we got part of the team looking at cross-cutting related issue, which is mostly socioeconomic studies and also gender-related issue, because socioeconomy is big, and inside socioeconomy, we have sometimes to look at disaggregated information based on gender or based on age and etc. And we work on so many aspects. INERA got many departments. Among the department, we have the breeding department, we have soil scientists, we have geography department, we have also social scientists. And I must say, on breeding, we do breeding in most of the crop. Like I would say rice and maize, which are the main crops which have received quite a lot of funds in the past. And in the case of ILSI, the project, we are collaborating with Cornell and my colleagues here. We focus on cowpea, which is the most famous legume in Burkina. It used to be women crop, and it turned out to become a cash crop. So men are taking the lead. And we have also millets and sorghum, and also groundnuts, part of these crops. And I just want to say that among these crops, as breeding, we also do breeding on vegetables, and also like tomatoes, onion, but this part is quite, for now, is an ongoing work. And other vegetables and also the dry crops are just named. I wouldn't say they're neglected, because now they're coming up very well, and a lot of effort are being doing by funders and research on this level. So I should say I'm so pleased to be here and sitting in front here to talk about my experience, and also the experience as a group in the project and as a researcher in West Africa, where agriculture is the main source of revenue and also the main source of living, everyday life. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
That's okay. Thank you very much. I am glad to be here with my colleagues. I am from Costa Rica, in Central America, a small country. And I am part of CASIA, Central American and Caribbean Crop Improvement. It's a project that we make with Quisqueya University in IT. I am a part of National Research of Agriculture in Costa Rica, that is part of Minister of Agriculture. In this project, in CAXIA, we are working in 3 crops, in sorghum, in common bean, that is a very important part of our food in Costa Rica, and in sweet potato. part of my job in this project, like a socioeconomic and agricultural economic, we are working on three research activity. Now we are in a participative evaluation with a method that we are working with ILSI, that is the tricot in sorghum. And we are making, in a couple of months, we are going to make a fingerprinting for evaluate our common bean breeding program. And that is part what my team is working on now in this project. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Simon Omondi. I come from Kenya. I work for the organization called Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization. I'm a researcher by profession. I'm a value chain specialist. And at CARO, our mandate is to be able to disseminate new innovations on crop improvement, livestock, natural resource management, and social science research. I'm happy to be part of this eminent team. And in the project, which is supported by ILSI, we are working on social inclusion for food security and incomes, and increasing the voice of marginalized farmers in Kenya. More about it in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for introducing yourselves, and welcome again. So we're going to have two sets of questions and then open question and answer at the end. So we're going to start with, I'm going to ask three panelists to give examples where some of their work has been impactful in informing the breeding program, just to give you an example of what this looks like in action, right? So I'm going to start with Luis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a simple example. I have to give you a little context about it. These projects are very helpful for us. We have to be very strategic because we don't have enough time for a plant breeding process. We have just we need our process in plant breeding take like 6 or 8 years, and this project is about 3 years. So we have to be very smart and strategic to try to adopt the technology that ILSI provide us and try to got the goals, right? So we have 5 promising lines, materials of common red beans, okay? And these 5 lines come from a breeding process that take like 6 years. It started in 2007. These lines was evaluating in farmer fields, and this is we just need a validating process to release one variety, right? With cassia, we decided to change a little bit the things to give some to change the methods with a plant breeding. The way that they made this validation in the past, they select some farmers that they trust, like 30, and we talked to the plant breeder and told him that change a little bit the things and randomize the sample, right, and increase the sample to try to add to the selection another context, another farmers, right? The plant breeders, of course, they have the favorite variety at this part at the end. I'm going to tell you that the name is the CEF64. That is the name of that material. But we have 5, right? And they discard, is that the right? They discard, they top. And the last one was the CEF71, right? So we give this recommendation, a small recommendation, a simple recommendation to these colleagues, just to prove. We know some things about the context that the market changed a little bit. We studied this before this recommendation, of course, but because this take money, there is a lot of budget in this process, and we have the collaboration, of course, a student of PhD of Cornell, that is Sergio Puerto. I have to add this information, sorry. But in this proof, we realized that we made the procedure, we used the tricot method, that is a triadic comparison of technology. At the end is a massive evaluation. We made this process in 400 fields in Costa Rica, in the 2 regions of commercial production. And at the end of this process, we know that the favorite of and the average favorite variety was the CEF71, right? That how to say that the difference between the people who the plant breeding, right? We proved our hypothesis because the market changed a little bit in Costa Rica in the last 10 years, because the government go to the market and buy common bean for the company of the government, right? You know, hospitals, schools, all. So the government was an important part of the market, right? And they changed a little bit the conditions. In the past, the condition was the industry put his opinion over the trades that the farmer select, right? We know this with a small quality sessions. So we want to know that, and we receive this feedback. So of course, this is it's not a structural situation. It's a how to say that it's not structural. It's more specific situation, right? Because it depends on the government, but they give this procedure give us a feedback to select not one variety, not 2 varieties, one for the government and the other one for the industry. There is 2 important markets, and that's that's our experience. A small change, a decision, randomized. That's all. What we do. Change the situation, and now I got some information, and this new variety that we released in these years, we're expecting to release the other one, but this variety that is for government, they are starting very well, like 5,000 of I forgot the measure, the 5,000 sorry. The measure of no, it's kilograms,
Tons.
no.
Not
Quintals. Thank you very much. 5,000 quintals. That means like 5,000 hectares is planting this new harvest season. and for this new variety. So that's our experience. There is a small change that we that we introduce in our process and make a difference in the results. That is my experience. I don't know if you understand very well. I'm sorry about my rough English, but but I am glad if I send you the right message for our experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, once again. So now in advance, my apologies about my English also is not good. From where I come from, we don't speak English, we speak Portuguese. So cowpea in Mozambique, most likely in the southern region, is a widely grown crop. With the time, a lot of research has been conducted on that crop, which has resulted as well on variety release, as well as agronomic practice, which is related to those varieties. But again, the adoption rate, either from the varieties or the agronomic practice or packages, is not as desired. Many factors can explain that reason, but one of them is most likely lack of involvement within the disciplines. I mean, socio part of the research, as well as the variety development itself. I want to say the breeding. So, as a study was conducted for value chain analysis on cowpea value chain in Mozambique. So, among various findings that were generated from that study, one of the things that it's really important that it has helped to improve. I mean, I could say the integration of the social aspects on the breeding component was that as a result of that study, was possible to identify market segmentations according to the farmers' description and the traits of interest or desired traits from or preferred trait, I think it's correct, preferred trait from the farmer. Just to mention the market segmentations that were identified from that study. One is for dry grain for exportation. Okay, that's one of the market segmentation. The second one is also for food processing. Okay. And then the third one is more food security related, which has to do with the international for international market as well as local consumption. Because this third one has comprised in terms of traits that the varieties that respond to that market segmentation has to have a dual purpose on which is possible to get use from the leaves and then get use of the pods, either fresh pods and as well of a dry grain from the international market. So with that information, the cowpea breeding program now is working focus on those three market segmentation in such a way that the crossing blocks that have been conducted are specifically to respond to those market segmentation. So the breeding program has by now, if we go to the breeding team, they have got a crossing block with the parents identified to respond to the market segmentation one. There is a crossing block for the parents and the materials that have been developed just to respond to market segmentation 2 and for the third market segmentation. Of course, there are specific traits for each market segmentation. For example, as I was saying, for the market segmentation 3, that one of the traits is in terms of duration, is a medium to short duration. Those are the traits. has to be, in terms of seed color, is an important trait that came out from that study. That study is brown seed, and as I said, those are the varieties for dual purpose on which the leaves can be used as well as the pods. And grain can be consumed either fresh or dried when it reach for that to respond to the export. And again, just summarize, just to bring in as an example on how the activities or the result from the socioeconomic has impacted in directing the breeding program, contrary from the past, on which the approach was not necessarily guided for the specific market segment, which are a result of a scientific basis, if I can call that way. And as per now, we believe that that can be a strategy which can improve the situation of variety of take or rate of adoption. This is also an experience, okay, for the purpose of this project is being done with the cowpea, but there is experience that our institute wants to do across other value chain or other commodities as well, so that the efforts, resource are properly directed in order to immediately respond to the end users' needs or preference. So that's in short what we can bring in to share on how social aspect or socioeconomic aspect, if I can call that, has impacted and directed the breeding program and in Mozambique, specifically on the breeding program. So one aspect that also comes out is not necessarily with the socioeconomic, the interdisciplinary aspect has all. That's one of the lessons that can come out, because there's a lot of disciplines, which I believe the goal is the same, to have a product that better responds to the end users' demand. Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to also share the experience from Uganda. And for us, from our breeding program, actually, I can say that this is now a positive, that we have changed from top-down breeding approach to demand-driven breeding approach, whereby we have to listen to our customers, and these customers, we look at them through, okay, we follow the value chain we look at different nodes. What do producers want? What do processors want, traders and consumers? So that I think by doing this, we can succeed, that at the end of the day, we shall come up with a product which is really demanded, and the adoption rate will go high. So what we have done, first of all, we have mapped all, okay, like the stakeholders along the value chain, the millet and sorghum value chain. We get to know who are our customers, what do they want, which varieties are they interested in, and why. So I think we have all these answers because we have already conducted the studies and we have the reports out. So after that, we conducted, we analyzed the data, and we came up with product profiles. We have the targeted product profiles for the different market segments. For example, for sorghum, we have 3 market segments which we are following. And this one, we have brewery industry, we have the food industry, and the beverage, the soft drink. So the same applies to finger millet, because the way finger millet is utilized is almost the same way sorghum is utilized. So now the product profiles, we had to discuss the product profiles with the breeders to agree, because there are some, you see, like there are some traits which are coming up strongly, and yet breeders say we can't breed for this, but farmers want them. So we have to discuss and see what can we do for such cases. Now, after presenting this, actually we have the final product profiles which we shared with breeders. The breeders are using, they've already used these product profiles, especially for finger millet, to select, because actually for us, I thought at first that not until the product profile is out, that's when the breeding exercise will begin. Yet the breeders already have their germplasm. So when you present this, they will just select the varieties which align to the traits which farmers or which the different stakeholders need. So they've already selected this germplasm, and we had to do a validation whereby if we say, for example, finger millet and sorghum are grown in specific areas of eastern, northern, and western Uganda. So you see, like in each region, they have different traits which they prefer. They are not the same. So you find that there are some traits which cut across the regions. Now, what we did, we selected, depending on the product profiles, the germplasm, and evaluated them with the farmers still. This time we didn't involve other stakeholders. We haven't involved other stakeholders, but we have evaluated with farmers. And sincerely, what farmers, for them, their statistics, actually, how can I bring it? Like their choices don't keep changing, because we all know that the choices are dynamic. Sometimes the consumers tell you, today we need this, tomorrow they need another one. But this time round, after validation, it came out that they are consistent in their choice selection. So I think what now we have to do is to take out these varieties to the farmers and other stakeholders, like the consumers and the processors. The interesting bit, as I said, that breeders, sometimes they also have their goals, they have their objectives, why they are breeding. So this time round, during the discussion, a breeder will tell you, yes, you are telling me that color is very important, or there is a trait of ease to thresh, especially for finger millet. You know, like finger millet in Uganda, we call it a women's crop, because men don't like to do what? To cultivate finger millet. They say it's really hard. It has a lot of work. And like when it comes to activities like weeding, men don't like bending. That's overbending. They say for them, their backs pain. The women, at least for them, they can do that. So there are some traits which you think they're not very important, but when farmers are selecting these varieties, they really say we want a variety, maybe which tillers, for reasons that it will increase the production, as well as also reduce on the work of overweeding, like 2-3 times. So it suppresses the what? The weeds. So some of these traits, and then breeders say, but these are not important traits. Yes, you are saying they are not important, but farmers will not adopt those varieties which you think are very important. So what I've realized that we have to listen to our customers. If your target is maybe to breed for the brewing company, or you are breeding for food, can you listen to the customer who says, I want a variety which tastes like this? Because when you don't, they will not adopt these varieties. We also realized during the survey that the improved varieties out there are not known. However, sometimes you find that they are already with farmers, but in case Hale takes a variety somewhere, they will call it Hale. They will not call it, yeah. So they are not aware. Someone is like, you mean we have improved millet varieties? So they are not aware that our varieties are out there. So we need to do a lot of awareness to these farmers, so that I think the demand can increase. And this, I think, affects the seed system if we don't do so. So I think another thing which I wanted to share with you,
I'm gonna give.
okay, it's okay, sorry.
Too much to hear about. I want to make sure we hear from
Okay.
Evelyn and Simon too, because we're running a little bit low on time.
Okay,
Thank
yeah.
you. So to Evelyn and Simon, they're really deeply involved in social inclusion related work. So I just wanted to see, why is social inclusion important to your work, and if you could talk about it.
Okay, thank you so much for the floor. I just want, before I start, to set a bit the scene. I started with INERA is almost now 11 years. When I started, and I went to 2 workshops, and when I finished, people will joke with you, have you found what you are searching? What are you doing? I say, I'm a researcher. Have you found what you are searching? And I look at the person, and I don't know what to answer. The second thing, they would continue and say, oh, like Sankara was saying, researchers who are searching, we got them. The researchers who are finding, we are still searching for them. So, and then I was like, wow. So this is the world where I am putting my foot in. and there was a kind of saying that we had challenge, this was 2014, we had a big challenge because we had a lot of varieties piled in the shelves, and they're not moving. I mean, they don't go out. And we had like 2 or 3 stories, but this was definitely real stories, because at the beginning we were like, yeah, you close yourself in the lab, you work hard, you come up with a variety because you think that my community is dying from hunger. If I got a variety which can produce a double of this, because usually it's half, now if it is this full, they're going to be happy and eat well. And in the end of the day, you get the variety, it will go there for 1 year, next year you go there, everyone is just doing like this. Or they will take it for respect, because you bring it to them, but they will never sow it. So it ends up being cooked. These are seeds, or if not be cooked, it will be probably sold to the market or given to, because it's not what they're expecting. So, and I think this was quite lessons that breeding team has learned. And also, and they realized that when I enter, I think I had one colleague who was a sociologist, and another 2 in the center I was who were economists, and the other were doing their PhDs. And it was like, it was like two worlds. Everyone is in the corner trying to do whatever they're trying to do. And we were called that is very urgent, that instead of waiting to fail, and then you call you, please come, you did sociology, come and help me to understand what is going on. Then you go, you do the survey, they say, oh, I mean, we don't like this crop because it's too short. The height is not what we're expecting. Or, well, we need a market. They need to build a market for us. And they will build the market, and no one is sitting in the market just because they turn the shops toward this. And in the culture, if the shop is toward this end, it means that you are going to collapse. So nobody is going to use this market. So it was definitely a big time that things are done in a very inclusive way from the beginning, which means we should not leave anyone outside. I used to tell my colleagues that it's like the body, if you got your little finger with a wound, you will stay home for 1 month. And people say, why are you sick? You say it's your finger, this little finger, but it will collapse the whole system. And this was what was trying to go on in Inera. So it was a right time that all or most of the projects try to be inclusive in the team first, and then inclusive from the research perspective. And this inclusivity has called us that when you go for research, the community is such complex. Like she was saying, even in Burkina, if you go to the north side, you get findings. Don't expect that you will find the same thing from the south. So it means that you need to have a representative sample in all the process if the variety has to be used for different communities. Or alternatively, is you focus in one community and you need to be the most inclusive possible, which is first, the value chain. So usually we are focusing on farmers, processors, traders, and because farmers are at the same time consumers. So, and in the farming perspective, you have to be inclusive because the point of view of the woman who is cooking to appreciate a specific variety is different from the man who don't go next to the kitchen. This is our culture. If you see a man in the kitchen, there is a problem. Either he's so modernized or he's sick. So these are, so it's not usual that he's standing in the kitchen trying to cook and the millet is not getting ready and he's struggling. No, it's not. So but when the woman is talking to you about a variety, she's may go in details. So we need to go on board with the woman to understand the challenge she's facing toward a specific crop like millet or cowpea or sorghum, but also we need to have the view of the man because he's the head of the household. And also, I mean, we use not to interview people who are younger than 14 because you say, oh, the founder would say that you are doing child abuse, talking about the farms, but most of the time they are doing the work behind. So having their point of view is very crucial because most of they are not only consuming, but also they are the hardworking people with the moms in the farm without being seen properly. So the challenge sometimes either challenge from harvesting or challenge from picking the crops or the color is changing. If you're not on the farm, you cannot appreciate it. So the inclusivity of the community in looking at what are the preferences is very crucial. For sure, it makes the work very long process because in the end of the day, you find yourself with a diversity of point of view. And then what we are trying to do in INERA, we have what we call the nice to have traits, the must have traits, which means in the end of the whole process of collecting information in the field. And sometimes as well, sorry to say it, because I consider also breeders as part of my participants. So I do interview with them without telling them what I'm looking for as information. But when you are sharing back the information with them, they realize that some of these things are coming from me, but it makes sense in the whole thing because they are completely part of the work by working in the lab. So it's very good to include them sometimes as participants in the survey. So having said so, and when we have the must have traits, depending on the amount of money, because sometimes they cannot breed for everything. They will tell me, Evelyn, I'm tired. I say, yes, me too, I'm tired. And say, I want you to tell me 1, 2, 3 things I need to put and breed for. And I will tell him, if I tell you the color, yellow color, is it enough? He say yes, but I say it's not enough. The yellow you got in your mind might not be the yellow the farmers is telling me. So you see how complex it is. You may have light yellow in your mind and you go and breed light yellow. And this farmer, perhaps their totem is light yellow. They want dark yellow. So even by saying the color itself, it's a big issue inside that you have to investigate. And in the end of the day, when we are able to have the must have thread, we have all to go on the field and be able to validate the type of yellowness, I don't know if it exists, or the type of redness, of darkness, so that we are all, even if I don't call it yellow, at least I know what it means. But this is still visible. When you talk about taste, this is, and they will tell you, we want cowpea which tastes of like our local variety. And look at them. And I'm sitting collecting this data and I'm working in my mind, what is this kind of cowpea which tastes like the local variety? So sometimes I need to tell them, can you bring me a handful of it? At least if I have a sample, by talking about which taste, I can show them this is it, which means the breeder need to even taste it. I don't know, but at least, and these are some of the information or the inclusiveness strategy we are putting in place to be able to move forward. So I just want to say that there is no one size fit all, because every single variety or every single community is a very complex community that you need to take. If in the end of the day we want it to be successful, there is no waste of time in lab work and field work, so that we all move in the same direction. The last thing, little bit.
Look at Simon now.
The last thing, well, I'll leave it for the question side. If they ask a question, I will add it. Yeah,
Thank
please.
you.
Thank you, Hale. In the project in Kenya, we are working on social inclusion. Social inclusion is one of the fundamental international human rights, where agricultural development projects need to, for them to be inclusive, they need to bring on board the women, the youth, and the other marginalized groups. Through a project supported by ILSI, we are working with these other marginalized groups, and these are groups which have never been thought about. We call them forgotten farmers, who are rarely targeted by development programs. We are working with the widow farmers who are widows. We are working with the farmers who are living with HIV/AIDS. We are working with the farmers living with disability. We are working with the farmers who are single mothers under 35 years. We are working with the youth. And we are also working with the farmers who are caregivers of infants. Now, these groups, even as in our research program, in our research organization, we've never reached them. But through ILSI, we are now having a project which we are calling last mile connectivity, so that we can be able to reach these groups with the innovations that come from breeders. The context of these groups is that they live in marginalization, they live in poverty, they live in exclusion. They've never been able to use innovations from breeders. So in a baseline survey that we carried out, we wanted to understand their situation, and in order to improve their livelihoods through the new innovations. So we are working through a stakeholder platform that involves public and private sector actors in order to improve the livelihoods of these groups using new innovations of high iron and zinc rich beans. The bean is called Nyota bean. You can Google, you will see it. It has high iron and zinc, which is quite useful in terms of nutrition for the type of groups that I've mentioned. The other innovation is the finger millet, which in that region in Kenya is very important for porridge as well as, it's a staple food. Then the final one is the sorghum. So these groups, through support by ILC, we've been able to disseminate the 3 varieties. These varieties, after carrying out a rapid trait preferences, they wanted varieties which are climate resilient, meaning they are drought tolerant, they are early maturing, and in terms of beans, they are gentle to the stomach. Most people don't like eating beans because they have problems with the stomach. So we selected this variety because it is a flatulent free. And then in terms of millet, the porridge is quite sweet. The groups have already gone through the first season. They've grown the varieties, and we recently carried out a food festival. And it was very encouraging to see how products from breeders can be able to transform the nutrition of these disadvantaged groups. In this food festival, we carried out with the groups of farmers living with HIV and their children. And they had a meal together of finger millet porridge from the breeders, as well as the high zinc and iron-rich bean. And their feedback was that in terms of the beans, this was the best bean that they have ever had before compared to the local varieties, and also in terms of sorghum. So this goes to underscore the importance of breeding programs when they appropriately target the market segments. So we think that through this stakeholder program, we are not only going to work on issues of food and nutrition security, but also the issue of increasing the voice of these groups in society, because by through their conditions, one of the things that makes them discriminated is that they do not have a platform to be able to increase their voice in society. So just want to say that breeding is very important in feeding the future, but it's only one part of the equation. Yeah. The social scientists are very important, as well as the other stakeholders, to be able, so that we all work together in a world that leaves no one behind. Thank you.
Wow. It's a beautiful end. I know we're out of time, but I'd love to take some questions until we get kicked out of the room.
I think there is a class after this.
Okay, right now.
We do have one question on the line. So maybe in the room, one question. We should have.
Yeah. Should we start with the room? Any? Just need 3 more hours. But
So the question from Leah about for Sophie. So could you provide more information on the step taken by NARO that ensures socioeconomic aspects are considered in the pre-breeding and early breeding programs?
Within government-funded projects, not donor-funded projects.
Not donor.
Government funded, if they are in.
So our government-funded project is a socioeconomic study considered in the pre-breeding stage. Any steps taken?
Okay, thank you so much. The government-funded projects, I would say yes and no. Because like in Uganda, the funding we get from government for research is really limited. Mostly, funding, we get it from donors. However, as I said before, that before we were considering the top-down research approach, whereby like if breeders get little money, they have objectives. Like someone will say, I'm breeding, I want to improve on yield, not looking at other issues. Now, for example, if you want to improve on yield of a certain crop variety, you are forgetting that there are also other issues. Even if you take this variety, which is high yielding, and maybe it is very tall, and you are taking it to areas, for example, in the eastern region, they like medium height varieties. So even if it is high yielding, because the women are the one cultivating, someone will say, that variety, I can't do it, harvest. Meaning you have to maybe get men to help you, and men actually will be enjoying their brew. They're not bothered. So as a woman, you have to provide food at home. So I can say no when I follow that argument. I can also say yes because after working with you, say, actually things are changing in that the approach is also changing, which is demand driven, whereby as socioeconomists, now at least we have a voice. Before we used to work in silos. A breeder is working alone, and even socioeconomists, the agronomists. So you find that everything is mixed up. But right now, now we are following the interdisciplinary approach, whereby we come together and discuss how to handle such issues. So there I can say that it is coming up. And in case we get any government funding, we still have to follow the demand-driven approach. Thank you. I don't know whether I've answered that question.
Yes.
Last chance. All right, can you please help me thank our guests?
This has been a production of Cornell University, on the web at cornell.edu.